Miami's hot, 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 hot fire. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner, and we are back for a double recap of the Real Housewives of Miami. This is season 7, and I'm going to be doing a review for both episode 10, which is called Thrill of Seville. Well, even though it's not enunciated that way, really, but that's how I get that's how they said it. And then episode 11, which is Follow or Unfollow. And before I get into this, let me just address the elephant in the room. Yes, I know this review is late. But full transparency, I feel like the Real Housewives of OC, this last episode, was a lot better than Real Housewives of Miami. I never thought I would say it, but I liked it more. I just did. Mainly because I've been waiting for a long time for Tamara to get her comeuppance, and she did. So I don't know. It was a little bit more interesting to me. And I think I've already shared multiple times when it comes to the Real Housewives of Miami, it's definitely missing something. Dr. Nicole is definitely missed, and it's just like not the same type of show as it was before. It's amazing how one person can change how a show is. Now, I wouldn't say the show's unwatchable. It's just I feel like they just need someone else to balance things out. And right now they don't really have it. They just have a lot of fiery personalities. And no one is just kind of like, more down to earth, but then also can get with you if you try to come at her. Anyway, but and then the other elephant in the room I want to address is, yes, I'm not on camera right now, but I am taking my hair down. And so I'm kind of trying to get this done and multitask at the same time, because I, of course, have somewhere to be after work. And so that's what's going on. So I'm taking my hair down. And then after that, then my hair is going to be natural for a while. Well, for a little bit. We'll see how long I go natural. The braids were, it was time. It was time. Even though I love the hair color, I might do that again, actually. I might do a different variation, same hair color again, because I enjoyed it. But yeah. Anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the episode. We're going to first go with episode 10, and then we're going to go ahead and go into episode 11. I almost forgot. We are also going to talk about a little bit of some tea that, is spilled outside the show, which also I personally think was a little bit more, is more interesting than the actual show itself. And that's the Todd situation. But we'll get into that when we get there. Maybe towards the end of the video, we'll talk about it. But anyway, so we start with this episode where we have the typical Real Housewives montage. We have Alexia getting ready, and Frankie is kind of just judging her based off these boots that she wants to bring with her. And the boots, I didn't mind the boots, but I kind of get why Frankie would be like, oh no, these are not cute. And then from there, then we have the another montage of Gertie with Russell. It was nice seeing Russell kind of a little bit more with some humor, because he's, a little bit more on the dry side, but he was showing a little bit of the humorous side. And then after that, then we see all the ladies head to the airport, minus the PJ ladies, and Lisa's missing. And so we find out, she ain't there. And all the ladies are kind of just like, obviously like, where is Lisa? And so then from there, we briefly have Alexia mentioning how she used to live in Spain. Now, I'm not sure about that timeline. But apparently she lived in Spain for a little bit. I don't know if she studied abroad or what it was, but she basically is just kind of showing how much she's just saying how much she loves Spain. So she's looking forward to this trip. And then from there, then we go on to like the girls who are taking Stephanie's PJ. And Stephanie's outfit, girl, what were you wearing? I just have questions. To me, I don't know. Maybe some of the girlies thought that was cute. To me, she kind of looked like an Oompa Loompa. But okay, whatever. It looked like something from Willy Wonka. Not necessarily Oompa Loompa, but like actually a better description is the girl in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. when she ate that candy that made her turn like purple. That's exactly how she looked, in my opinion, my personal. Anyway, so as soon as she gets to the plane, she gives everyone some gifts. And Larsa is just kind of shading her about that. Like, what? Who is she, Oprah? And okay, whatever, Larsa. I would be for it. And then we see then that she gives everyone some pajamas for the PJ. So PJs for the PJ. And then they do this dance party. And then here Stephanie does confess that she doesn't have a lot of friends, so she's not used to doing what she's doing right now. She travels normally with her husband, and so this is all new to her. And honestly, this explains a lot. Because for those who don't know, y'all kind of already know how I feel about Stephanie. I like her on the show, but I could tell I don't really like her. Her personality is just like, it's not, I don't know. She just isn't, it's a lot. It's a lot, I guess is how I would describe it. So then, anyway, then both Julia and Adriana are on the plane. So I think Stephanie then asked them, like, how are they doing? And Julia's being, weird about it. And Adriana's like, it is what it is here. And then from there, so we don't really get into it because they're still in the plane and it's fine. And because really, Alexia has made her point very clear. Julia's changed and we all know this. So, there's no need to really continue to repeat the thing. But anyway, but really, Adriana said that like more or less on the confessional, not really in person. And then from there, then we talked a little bit about Lisa and Larsa's friendship status. Mainly it comes up because they're trying to figure out, do they think Lisa even got to the airport on time? And long story less long, no. And so they're just talking about that. And then they talk a little bit about Marisol's party and how much, and Stephanie mentions how she enjoyed the party. And then they start talking a little bit about Stephanie and and Alexia and where they're at with things. And they're both trying to move forward. And then Julia, as they're trying to move forward, Julia is making all these excuses for Alexia. And this is where Adriana kind of feels away about. I was like, oh my gosh, you're just so stuck up their butt. And yeah, facts though. So that's kind of what happens here. Anyway, moving on. So then next, they basically land. It only took them actually roughly, how long it only took them? It took them only 7 hours to get there, which is crazy to me. And so then we find out fun facts from Adriana that there are 5 different versions of the Spanish language that is spoken in Spain. And so she kind of talks about that. And she also mentions the one where they talk with a lisp. So that's why they say Barcelona like that. And allegedly, apparently one of the kings back in the day had a lisp, and that's how that kind of happened. So a little bit of the more you know. And so I enjoyed that. That was cool that Adriana gave us a little bit of a history lesson, if you will. Anyway, so then they get to the hotel and they're at, I forgot what hotel they're at, but like it in the United States is a basic hotel. It's like kind of like the Hilton, but there it's kind of a big deal. But then we find out right away Stephanie gets upgraded. Her room gets upgraded to the presidential suite. And she gets like this birthday gift as soon as she comes into the place. And I'm just wondering, and I'm not trying to be shady, do you think Stephanie paid for that or do you think her husband paid for that? I just want to know your thoughts. She's claiming her husband did, but I think he did by the ways of she used his card and she decided to do this on her own. That's just my personal opinion. But I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. But anyway, so then from there, Lisa does finally text. Now, what we're told on the show is that she texts Alexia to let her know, like, hey, and after the fact that I'm going to be missing the flight, but she's on her way. And so the ladies kind of feel a way about it. And by the way, while this is happening, the other ladies are kind of on their way of getting there. And so she kind of feels away, like the ladies all kind of feel away because no one was communicated to about. Lisa didn't tell anyone what was going on. And she's traveling international. She's going places where she doesn't speak any other language other than English. And so they're all worried for her. And so I kind of do get that side of them being worried. Now, how they end up proceeding with this and kind of dragging it, I'm like, okay, guys, okay. But of course, this is going to lead to them adding more to the sauce and, everything about her being late and stuff like that. So that's kind of what's happening here. But anyway, Stephanie then talks about Alexia to the rest of the ladies. Basically the ladies who were there so far. Because the rest of the ladies that took the, regular way of getting there, they're not there yet. And really, she's just talking to the ladies about how she wants things to be good with her and Alexia, and hopefully they can finally get on a good foot. And then, of course, as she's talking about her, the rest of the ladies show up, and it's kind of awkward because then immediately they don't even get in there good. Julia goes and runs and tells Alexia that Stephanie was talking about her. And not in a way of like saying, oh, we were just talking about you. Because Julia keeps trying to say that's how she said it. And it's like, girl, you were trying to start mess. And she did it with complete glee. And it was just weird. And immediately, because the way she did it, though, she did it in a way where literally Stephanie and all of them can hear her do it. And so Stephanie's like, what the heck is that? And we're going to get more context to why Stephanie's offended when we get more into it. So, yeah, no, it was really, really messed up. And by the way, everyone's asking immediately, where's Lisa? Because the PJ girls thought Lisa was with them. And it turns out, no, Lisa's still on her way. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's crazy. But then, anyway, let's get into what happens after the rest of the ladies go into their rooms to get settled in. While basically Larsa, Julia, Adriana, and Stephanie are in the lounge. So Stephanie couldn't even wait to let her know she was annoyed. She basically immediately confronts Julia. It's like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And Julia proceeds to try to lie and cover up and do all the things. But Stephanie was not having any of it and basically went all the way off on her, got her together. Instead, Julia realized, oh, I messed with the wrong one immediately. And it was really awkward. And then they did a toast about how, because really and truthfully, Stephanie was hurt by how Julia didn't waste no time throwing her under the bus after they basically got to fly in her private jet to get there. Because by the way, it took the rest of the ladies 14 hours to get there, while it only took them 7 hours. So it took them half the time to get there. And then we also find out in the after show that Julia slept in Stephanie's bed, got to sleep peacefully in Stephanie's bed while basically Stephanie stayed up the whole entire time, and got all these gifts from Stephanie, rolled on her PJ to not waste any time in throwing her under the bus. So everyone basically because even Larsa was like, girl, that wasn't cool. Why would you do that? Like everyone was just like, why would you do that? And even Alexia did not appreciate it either. We found out in the after show also, Alexia was like, yeah, that wasn't cool. So I don't know what Julia thought she was doing there, but she basically is alienating herself on that whole entire thing. And really, Alexia was weirded out by the whole thing. She's like, what was that about? Like, because she had such a grin in her face, like telling her the news, like she was just couldn't wait for the mess to start. It's like, that is weird. But anyway, moving on. So then all the ladies are getting ready for dinner or the activity. Yeah, dinner, I believe. Yeah, it was dinner. And Larsa and Steph are in glam together or getting ready with glam. And Stephanie is just convinced that Larsa needs to date like a different kind of man because she always dates athletes. And Larsa is just like, no, I like what I like. That's just what it's going to be. And so that's kind of what happens there. And then as Julia's getting ready, Julia has this necklace that she's getting put on that has a snake. And there's just like a dark spirit around her. Like she just is not like, I don't know how a lot of us didn't see this side of her before, but now that I see it, I can't unsee it. She's just not a good person. I really, really hope this is her last season. Anyway, so then all the ladies do get ready. They're on the way to dinner. And Marisol picked out this musician to perform at the dinner. And this guy is singing, but I mean, traditional Spanish singing, but he's singing directly to Alexia. And then what was comedic about it was, I think what his singing was beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I think both Alexia and Marisol were just overly dramatic about it. Everyone else was just like, what is happening? Because they're crying the whole entire time as this guy is singing. And they're like, this is passion. This is this. Like, just trying to make it seem like what he's doing is so different than singing, like just singing. That's all he's doing that's different. Larsa is trying so hard not to laugh, and she looks very confused. And then also Stephanie also is trying not to laugh. Both of them are next to each other, and I was them. I was like, what is happening? And then we find out, then the whole entire table is like, so where is Lisa? Everyone's still worried because Lisa's nowhere to be found. And then the shady producers basically show this diagram of this map of everywhere she has to go in order to get there. And she had to fly to London, I believe, and then from London to Madrid, and then from Madrid she had to take a train to where they're at. And that's crazy time. And so they're like, okay. And then Julia gets called out again for the way she behaved. And then from there, then this actually then indirectly kicks off the showdown of Stephanie and Alexia going back and forth. And they're going back and forth, and Stephanie's just like still convinced that like Alexia has like this superiority complex. And the thing that's crazy about this whole entire back and forth that's going on between Stephanie and Alexia is this is all started over them calling each other types of dogs. And so then from there, we get the thing that we've seen in the preview where Stephanie's like, I'm Alexia, which was funny, but it's just like all this over this. Because at the end of the day, what Stephanie is saying about Alexia is accurate, but not in this situation. I think two things can be true. I think Alexia is that type of person who's insecure and who will pick on the new people. But in this particular case, you were no victim. You started this. Like, Stephanie this whole entire time was picking and picking and picking. Like, this was not the case of Alexia versus Dr. Nicole. In the case of Dr. Nicole and Alexia, oh yes, Alexia always picked at Dr. Nicole. In this case, Alexi was like, I was minding my own business. I never even picked on you. And so they finally do squash it. They're just like, I just want us to start over. So they're starting over for the upteenth time. And then fast forward, dinner's over with. And then finally, though, Lisa just finally arrived. She arrives late, but she finally arrives. And then the first thing she does once she gets there, she goes straight to Alexia and Marisol. And they're kind of just reprimanding her a little bit, which is wild. I get why, but I understand why. Because she could have done a better job of communicating to them where she was at, what was going on. But also at the same time, it's not like they're her boss. They're her coworkers. They didn't really necessarily have to. But at the same time, they're supposed to be her friends. So you know what I mean? So I can see both sides of it where it was like, Lisa, you really should have communicated to them. Because who knows if they're waiting on her, how long they were waiting on her at the gate or whatever before they finally were just like, okay, we're going to go on. Like, they probably, you know, and I don't know why none of them called that out, but like, I would have called that immediately. It was like, we were waiting on you at the gate. And that could have, you know, that could have been more time than me at the lounge to get my drink on. Waiting on you to get to where, when you weren't even going to show up. But according to the after show, according to Lisa, she actually texts the whole group. But the thing is, she texts the whole group after the fact. And so I could get why that would be really annoying. And the thing is, Lisa, this is not the first time you've done this kind of thing. This is like your norm. Like, and that, I think that's the problem that a lot of the ladies are having. So I get why they were reprimanding her, but at the same time, truth to truth time, I'd be damned as a grown woman. I don't care if I'm wrong. You're not reprimanding me. So I kind of get from her standpoint, because, you know, Lisa gives me bratty. She's a little bit on the bratty side. I wouldn't be okay with anyone reprimanding me as a grown woman with kids. No, I wouldn't be okay with it either. So I get why she feels away, but at the same time, it's like, come on, girl. But anyway, that does conclude this episode. You already see, so you kind of see why I just was like, yeah, this was all right. It wasn't great. But anyway, let's move on to the next episode. All right, so then the next episode, we have Stephanie, Lisa, and Larsa. They're chatting. And they're kind of doing a walk. And, oh, by the way, it's the next morning. And Lisa finally arrives. And they're chatting at the lobby, waiting to do the things they're going to do for the day. And so half the women are going to, like, some shops. And the other half are going to the flamingo dress shop. That we find out that Marisol put together as a part of a suggestion for Stephanie. So this day is like about doing stuff for Stephanie. That's kind of, I guess, is what today and the next day is kind of about, because Stephanie's birthday. So that's kind of what they got going on. Now, I love that they're doing something for Steph's birthday. But this has been my whole thing this whole entire time when it comes to these women. I don't remember if anything happened last season or even this season. Has anyone done anything for Gertie in the fact that she beat cancer? Has anyone celebrated Gertie at all in this group? Any of the women in this group celebrate Gertie at all? Other than going to that celebration of life that she threw. Don't worry, I'll wait. Yeah. I do feel a way about that. Just saying. But anyway, moving on. So some of the ladies go to this flamingo dress shop. And yeah. And then a little bit while I'm trying to remember if Stephanie and Marisol were at this dress shop where they kind of had the discussion. Yeah. They had the discussion here where, and Stephanie's the one who brought it up, how Marisol acts differently when she's not around Alexia versus when she's with Alexia. And it becomes like a whole entire conversation. And really, of course, Julia's not agreeing with anything that Stephanie's saying because she's, overly biased towards both Adriana and Marisol. But the other women actually are like, no, we actually agree with Stephanie here on this. And you know what? I agree with her. I feel like this is like one of the most obvious things ever. And Marisol's like, okay. And I don't know and Marisol kind of, I feel like she felt awkward about the situation because she was kind of getting cornered here. But at the same time, I don't think Stephanie was saying this in a way where it was a confrontational way. I think she was just like kind of making an observation here. And in the confessional, and I believe also in the after show, Marisol was like, you know what? I never looked at it that way. I'm going to pay more attention to that and kind of move accordingly in the future. And you know what? I think Marisol really does it. She does it unintentionally and doesn't even know she does it. I think in some ways it is intentional because of the show of it all. But I think in other stances, she just doesn't realize she's doing it because they have been so connected to each other for so long. Like they literally are like the Cuban frickin' frack in the words of Chris Diggy or C Diggy from YouTube. So shout out to C Diggy 1 on YouTube. But anyway, I just had to call that out. So while this is happening, the other ladies, which is Alexia, Gertie, Kiki, and Julia, they're at like the square and they decided to get these oysters. And the oysters were amazing. And Kiki tried to eat one of the oysters and she was grossed out. And she actually made me sick and kind of grossed out because she could not swallow it. And I was grossed out by the fact that she tried. Like, I was grossed out. I was like, girl, like, I really wish the producers they could just like not have this scene in here at all. And I think they had it there to, try to make it seem like Kiki being fun and stuff like that. But actually, here is when we actually find out Kiki is off. There's something off about Kiki this season. And it's been very clear there's been something off about Kiki this season. She's just been kind of in her own world, has been the normal fun-loving girl. And we find out that Kiki is struggling right now when it comes to saying no to her family and, when it comes to bringing some of her family to the United States. Because, all the things are going on with Haiti. Things are a lot worse there. And she's basically just having a tough time with all that. And because everyone was like, yeah, something just is different with Kiki. And so that's kind of what happens here. And I feel bad. I feel like the way Kiki's been moving this season, I mean, I'm glad that this kind of explains it a little bit, but I'm also kind of just like, I don't know. I think I'm not going to hold you. I think the things that happened with Gertie this season has put kind of a whole entire cloud to this whole entire season for me. I'm not as into Miami as I normally would be. I'm not as optimistic about it because I feel very, very personally attacked by how they handled the whole entire Gertie situation and how also they're just able to just let it go as if like nothing happened. And I know Gertie at this moment, even on the show, she's let it go and she's trying to be cool with Julia. But just even seeing her and Julia being in the same group and hanging out, I'm kind of weirded out by it because especially knowing what we know now, I'm just kind of like, ill. I'm just grossed out by the whole situation, to be honest with you. And the other thing that I feel like maybe I should have did here. I think once this Gertie thing happened, I think I probably should have stopped watching Miami. Because I'm just not as impressed anymore. I'm just kind of just like, ugh. And I think that's why I'm not even as much in a hurry to review Real Housewives of Miami anymore as I was before. I'm more into reviewing Orange County in a weird way, even though there's similar things happening there. But the difference is, like, Katie kind of did that to herself. Gertie didn't do anything wrong in this case. And so I just have a tough time with the whole thing. But anyway, moving on. So then now the rest of this episode is literally going to be about Larsa and Lisa. And I think that's the other thing too. I'm not interested in Larsa and Lisa. I don't care. I know it's silly and it's meant to be silly or whatever, but I don't know. Like, it's not something I care enough about. But anyway, so the subject of Lisa still following Marcus comes up. We found out she's still following Marcus. And then, by the way, while all this is happening, yeah, and I'm just kind of like, okay. So then after that, then the ladies kind of reverse this. So the ladies that were at the flamingo shop, they're now at the square where the other women were at, and the women who were at the square are now, or market, are now at the flamingo dress shop. And yeah. So while this is happening, we find out at the dress shop that Alexia is wearing her wedding ring again. And and she tells that to Julia, and she's talking about it. And you know what? It makes sense now after listening to Todd why. So for those who did not, because to me this is more interesting than what happened this episode, honestly. So Todd went on Beyonce's internet and proceeded to air out the producers of the show and Alexia, and also Peter, Alexia's son. And what we find out from Todd is the whole thing about his finances and him not having the money fabricated. We also find out that Todd is still supporting Alexia's lifestyle, and also is still supporting Peter's lifestyle as well as Frankie's lifestyle. We also find out from Todd that Alexia chose the show over him, and that's why they're no longer together. Even though Alexia on the show is trying to make him come off like the bad guy, but really she's a bad guy. She wants to be a star so bad that she decided she is going to choose the show over him. And we also find out that Todd is the reason why her sons get paid on the show, because both sons, because Peter still isn't doing anything with his life. So everything that, he was kind of airing Peter out on national TV like 2 seasons ago, he still isn't doing anything with his life. He's still a drifter. He's still kind of just like this 30-something doing nothing with his life. But now at least he's getting paid for the show. And the reason why he's getting paid is because Todd helped negotiate that. So that's kind of what's happening here. And then we also find out that he's the reason why Frankie became more independent. And also, too, how they broke up and him moving out. He did not move out around Frankie. All that was a lie. And Todd is basically threatening to sue the producers of the show. And also, too, he was the only one so far that was on the show that kind of aired out how the microaggressions and how the ladies treated Gertie. And so I hate to say this. At first I wasn't sure if I was going to believe Todd. But then as he was just talking, I think I believe Todd. So I see why Alexia was trying not to break up with Todd for real, because she wants to have her cake and eat it too. Because without her being with Todd, who's going to support her lifestyle? Because what does Alexia do outside this show? Not enough to have the lifestyle she has. So let's just call a thing a thing. But anyway, that was the other thing that happened outside the show. I probably should have said at the beginning, spoiler, because I don't know if that's going to come up during the reunion, because the reunion has already aired, and Todd shared this after the fact. So this is not going to come out after the reunion, what Todd said. So it might be part of next season. Who knows? But anyway, that's down that. All right. So then finally, I guess, Larsa and Lisa finally start going back and forth. Larsa finally decides she's going to confront Lisa about still following Marcus. And all the ladies are trying to confront Lisa as well about it. Like, why are you still following him? And honestly, I hate to say this, I agree with Larsa. This is ridiculous. But I understand why. And Lisa breaks down the after show why she hasn't stopped. Because she feels like Larsa's trying to tell her what to do. Basically, Lisa's being petty. She's being petty. She's like, if you're going to tell me what to do, I'm just like going to ignore you and just continue to do what I'm doing. But at the same time, it is messed up. So after all this happens and they're going back and forth, and Larsa, this is the part that I was like, Larsa, you lost me here. Because she proceeds then to try to call Lisa a groupie. And I'm like, Mrs. Kardashian, you can't talk. I'm going to need you to sit 10,000 seats. Your track record of the guys you date. You date basketball athletes or athletes and rappers. That's groupie behavior. But anyway, and Lisa called it out as well. And so after the fact, then she calls Jody and she's venting to Jody about it. And so, Jody's being a listening ear like he always is. And then he has like his first confessional for the first time. It was really awkward, I feel like, because I don't think Jody really wanted to be on it. But at the same time, he's on the show. I don't know. I have questions on that, but neither here nor there. So then after that, then the ladies are then on their way to this spiritual flamingo event. And Julia tries to then confront Lisa about this following situation as well. And Lisa eats her right up. And then and this is what gets me about Julia, and this is why I think she just is a horrible housewife, and she just like should not be on this show. She does not know how to go back and forth with anyone confrontation-wise via words. She just doesn't. She doesn't have it in her. She's going to get eaten up every single time. And so because she was getting eaten up by Lisa, of all people, she starts yelling at her and then tries to say, stop yelling at me, even though she's the one who's yelling. And Gertie, this whole entire time, is in the car. And so she has Lisa's back. She's like, because Lisa's like, how are you going to say stop yelling at me when you're the one who started yelling at me? And why do you care what I do? This is none of your business, which is right. And so then after that, they do finally get to the spiritual flamingo situation. And at the spiritual flamingo, things are explained about this. Oh, I forgot to mention. Oh, yeah. I don't know if this happens here or if it happened at the dress shop, but Adriana then explains the history of the culture of like the gypsies and the flamingo dresses and whatnot. And then, so that another history lesson from Adriana. And then after that, then as the lady gives him like a scarf, Kiki proceeds to do too much and flash the girls. And I'm just like, girl. See, and that's the thing also. Kiki and the way she's acting isn't landing with me anymore, because now I'm like, oh, you're a one-trick pony. That's what I'm learning from Kiki. Kiki's a one-trick pony, and this is why she's not full-time. She'll never be full-time because she's a one-trick pony. Anyway, so then from there, they do the flamingo thing and all that. And then they proceed. And also, side note, in the after show, I love how Gertie threw it right in Kiki's face, because Kiki had the audacity, Minigay Goal, I think it was episode 1 or 2, of calling Gertie extra. What is her constantly flashing her tits? What is that? Extra. Is actually team too much. Because respectfully, even as someone like Kiki's a beautiful woman, she is. She's gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous. I'm pan. I love men. I love women. If you look good, you look good. And my whole thing is, I would get sick of just constantly seeing her boobs. Because when she did it, I was like, oh, come on. That was like my reaction when she did it, because it just was like kind of off-putting to me, my personal. And they're in another culture, they're in another country. Maybe they're freer there. I don't know. I just wouldn't like. I wouldn't know. I wouldn't be okay with like. I don't know. You just never know who you're offending. So it's just kind of weird. But anyway, so they then finally do get to dinner, and we find out that Jody has been texting Larsa. Larsa puts everyone on blast. Lisa's like, I don't even know what's going on because we found out that Lisa didn't even know that this was happening, but apparently, ever since the confrontation between her and Lisa, Jody's been texting Larsa, which is out of bounds and not okay. But we find out in the after show more context. He has texted her before. So she's making it seem like just out of nowhere he's doing it, even though they have texted each other before. So, but that's how Larsa does. But I still don't think that's okay. I think, it makes no sense for her to do that. Unless Larsa was still talking about Jody, which also we know she was doing. But still, no matter what, you're a man. You don't need to confront her. Just leave it alone. So then we also find out that Lisa needs to find someone to notarize her stuff because she's still getting like a lot of legal proceeding stuff, which is also the reason why Lisa was late. Found out Lisa got late because she still is trying to wrap up her divorce. That's what's been going on. And then she also she went to St. Bart's as well. That sounds like a vacation. It kind of was, but kind of wasn't. We found out from Lisa this was a commitment that she was getting paid to do, that she has to it was a commitment that was booked far in advance, way before this cast trip and all that. So she wasn't going to be able to she basically tried to do too much at once. And Lisa, she's already horrible with time management. Is it surprising that it went the way it went? No. But the ladies are still trying to give her a hard time about it. And it's like, okay, stop it. And you know what? And Lisa has had some clapbacks to a lot of the ladies. She's like, maybe if y'all had some business of your own, you wouldn't have to worry about what I'm doing. And I ain't gonna hold you. I kind of agree with that. But at the same time, Lisa, you could just communicate when you're not going to be on time. Because honestly, I feel like if she just would communicate she's going to be late, a lot will go a long way. But, she just doesn't, I feel like she's just in her own universe at times. That's what's kind of happening. So then after this, and out of nowhere, Larsa's being dramatic. She's like, I want to leave. I want to leave. I don't want to be here anymore, because she's basically putting 20 on 10 because Jody is texting her. And it ends as like a to be continued, I believe. And this is where the episode ends. So yeah, this was the Real Housewives of Miami. And again, it's okay. I am going to continue to review it. I'm hoping next episode I will enjoy more. I just didn't really enjoy these last two. And I would have thought with it being a cast trip, I would have liked it more. And I'm just not feeling it. I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm just kind of like, But anyway, that does conclude the video. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you get anything out of the content. It's your girl Sharon, aka the Melanin Nostalgic Runner. And I will see you next time. Bye.